Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ghost Asian. Tonight's story is one that has haunted the people of Guangzhou for decades. The kind of tale that makes the hair on your neck stand up because it really happened. This is the story of the demon wedding procession at Lu Chengzhu, a tragedy and mystery that turned a happy wedding into one of the most terrifying nights in the city's history. Lu Chengzhu wasn't just any restaurant. Built back in 1745 by 5 wealthy families, it had become an icon of Guangzhou, a place where generations of people gathered for weddings, birthdays, and banquets. By the 1980s, it had grown into one of the biggest restaurants in the city. Imagine a 3-story building, grand wooden staircases, chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, rows of red lanterns glowing outside. Inside, the air was always filled with chatter, clinking glasses, and the sound of celebration. Hosting your wedding banquet, there was considered an honor. But one fateful night in 1985 changed everything. It was October 9th. A young couple had rented the entire 3rd floor for their wedding banquet. The bride was radiant in her red silk kippah, the groom proud as he welcomed their guests. Downstairs, the 1st and 2nd floors were filled with regular diners. The restaurant was buzzing with joy. Then the lights went out. Back then, Guangzhou often suffered power outages during peak hours. The owner quickly started the backup generator, kept under the main staircase on the 1st floor. But minutes later, a crackling noise started beneath the stairs. Smoke followed, then fire. At first, no one noticed, but the flames climbed the wooden staircase like a hungry beast, spreading from floor to floor. By the time someone shouted fire, the staircase was already engulfed. Guests on the 3rd floor were trapped. Panic broke out. Chairs toppled, people screamed, trying to escape, but there was no other way down. Lu Chengzhu had no fire escapes, no sprinklers. The fire trucks came, but the blaze was too intense. Outside, people could only watch as the wedding hall became a blazing furnace. The music stopped. Screams filled the night, and then faded into silence. By the time the fire was put out, dozens of people were dead. The bride, her entire family, and most of the wedding guests perished. The once happy night had turned into a night of horror. 7 days later, the traditional day when the dead are said to return, the neighbors around Lu Chengzhu were startled awake in the middle of the night. At first, it was faint, the sound of Suona flutes playing wedding music. The sound grew louder, echoing down the empty streets, cheerful but unnervingly distorted. One by one, curtains were pulled back, and that's when they saw it. A ghostly wedding procession was slowly making its way down the street. Men and women dressed in bright red ancient costumes, their faces pale and expressionless. Some carried lanterns. In the center was a red bridal sedan chair, swaying gently as if someone sat inside. When they reached the charred remains of Lu Chengju, the music stopped. Then came a scream, a woman's cry, piercing and heart-wrenching. Many witnesses swore the voice sounded exactly like the bride who had died in the fire. The crying went on until dawn. And then, just as the first rooster crowed, the entire procession vanished into thin air. Over 100 people claimed to have seen it. But the terror didn't end there. On the 100th day after the fire, the groom returned to Lu Chengju with relatives to burn paper offerings for the dead. Just as they finished, a charred wooden beam suddenly snapped and fell, striking the groom on the head. He fell into a coma for a month. When he woke up, he was never the same. He would scream without reason, cry out in the middle of the night, and mumble about the bride's burned face, saying she had come back for him. One night, a nurse entered his hospital room and froze in terror. The groom was standing by the door, staring blankly, and floating above his head was a glowing red skull. The nurse fainted on the spot. The family brought in a Taoist priest to perform an exorcism. Some said the priest revealed the bride's spirit wasn't trying to harm him, but to protect him, to seek revenge on those who mocked her family during the wedding. Others believed she had turned into a vengeful demon too powerful to control. The family eventually sent the groom to a mental hospital. Not long after, he was found dead. His body was marked with strange burn scars, though there had been no fire. Lu Chengju became known as a cursed place. For years, it stood abandoned, its blackened walls a reminder of the tragedy. When developers tried to rebuild it, strange things started happening to the workers. One man suddenly collapsed while working on the 3rd floor. His eyes rolled back, and he began speaking in a woman's voice. Another worker, who didn't even speak Cantonese, suddenly sang in perfect Cantonese, in a high-pitched female tone. The construction crew refused to work any further, even when the building was reopened under a new name. Business never returned. Eventually, in 2006, the entire structure was demolished. Some say the story began long before the fire. Years earlier, a young woman used to visit Lu Chengju with her childhood sweetheart. They promised to marry there one day. But the young man moved away and married someone else. Heartbroken, the woman fell ill and died. At her funeral, she was dressed in a wedding gown, and her coffin was filled with the pastries she had loved. Locals believe her spirit lingered in the restaurant, waiting for the wedding she never had, until the night of the fire, when she finally got her wedding. To this day, older residents of Guangzhou still whisper about that night. The night when the demon wedding procession returned.